Hi everyone, my name is Simona Liao and I am a product manager in the Visual Studio GitHub Copilot team. Today I will continue the Copilot agent mode series and show you how I really use Copilot agent as a teammate to quickly refactor and iterate on a new project using natural language prompts. So let's take a look at my Visual Studio. Previously, my teammate shared the C++ code with me, and she mentioned it's a zombie game. And to be honest, I'm not an expert in C++, but I do have ideas on how I want to keep improving this game. So let's see how far I can get with agent's help. So let's first run and see what is the current state of the game. The project is building. Oh no, seems like we run into a build error. So let's take a look at the error window. Seems like there's an unresolved external symbol error. And as mentioned, I'm not an expert in C++. So let's copy this error message and ask agent if you have any idea how to fix this. And this is where you can select agent mode in Copilot chat window. You can use this drop down to switch back and forth between ask mode and agent mode. So now agent is giving me a quite detailed explanation, and it seems like there's a mismatch between console application and Windows application, and there's a detailed step-by-step instruction. Okay, let's follow this instruction and open the project properties. Solution Explorer, and right click to bring up properties. And I think the agent mentioned is something inside the linker and system. So I can swap between console and Windows application. Now let's run this again and see if it's working. Wow, it's building again. Great, it built successfully. So I think this really shows agent has a detailed knowledge about Visual Studio itself. Visual Studio is really powerful IDE and it's really rich in features and all the capabilities. But sometimes for a new developer, it's easy to get lost with all the options out there. So you have agent to support you and locate the things you need. So great. And now I think we're ready to develop. The first thing I noticed immediately after getting the code is everything is in one place. And this is not good for future development. Let's ask agent, please refactor this into multiple files. Now agent got my ask and is crafting a detailed plan on how it's gonna refactor. And what is happening behind the scene is the tool calling process. Agent make it the task into a step by step and decide for each step which tool is the most helpful by looking at its toolbox. So for example, here is doing the task of reading the files, and later is adding all these new files using the editing tools. And you can click into these to look at the changes happening at each file. And now it's reading again. And while it's editing, it will show you the progress. It's a progress bar. Now, after all the changes, it's reading any errors caused by its changes and building the solution again. So it seems like it's a successful build, and let's run again to see if it's true. Great, it's still working. So now I think I would love to accept all the great changes. And there are two ways you can accept them. You can either click the list over here to go into the file one by one and accept the changes. But since everything is working, I'll just use this summary menu down here and hit the keep button to accept all the changes. So I think now we're ready to extend this game. So one thing I noticed is very awkward is that the villager is just standing there, not moving. So let's make this game more interactive by give user control to move villager using WASD. So it feels more like a real game that the user can control the main character. So again, the agent is crafting a really detailed plan. And something I want to highlight is whenever agent is making some code changes, it will create a checkpoint so users can easily restore the progress. For example, here. So I think previously I can get really nervous when someone else or Copilot is touching my code because things might get messy. But now I have this option to always restore to the previous state before Copilot makes any changes. Really makes me feel safer and more comfortable playing around with Copilot agent. So here again, we have a restore option as well. And something else I also really like on the highlight is after making some code changes, agent will always read any errors and try to build the app successfully. So we're always left, agent will always make sure we're in a clean state, a successful state that we can continue, iterate, and work on. And in this scenario, we didn't have any errors. But if we do run into errors, agent will iterate on the error as well. So now let's run the app again, see if it's working. So you cannot really see my keyboard, but now I'm hitting the WEST key to run away from the zombie. Great. I love the user control. And something I noticed while playing the game is currently there's no way for the villager to win. All it can do is running away from the zombie. Let's make the game even more fun so villager can win. I have this prompt typed because it's a little bit longer. So please draw an X in a random location, and once villager picks up the X, and then they meet the zombie, they can win. And make sure the villager looks different after they pick up the eggs. So again, Copilot is giving me a really detailed plan. I really like this because it makes sure developers is always in the loop when agent is making any code change. You are still in control, you know what is happening with your code space, and there's full transparency. For new developers who are not that familiar with the code base, when you are working with agent, you're also learning at the same time because it always provides those rich explanation. Again, I think Copilot finished the changes and the build was successful. Let's check the game again. Oh, there's an X, and I pick it up. Cool. Even though without having to specify it, agent understands I need a different victory message. So now it says villager defeated the zombie. That's perfect. So I think our game is getting better and better. And lastly, I think I would love to have a intro page before jumping into the game. So adding an intro page, jumping. So to talk a little bit more about the tool calling process that agent always do when providing an answer. Like now it's reading, and later it will using the editor tools to edit the files. You can review all the tools that are available to your agent down here, clicking this tools icon. So now these are all the built-in GitHub Copilot agent tools. For example, the editing files that we already saw, find files. We also have get errors, and of course, the run build that will happen at the end of making any changes. So tools is what really make agent powerful, so it can use the tools at its disposal depending on which makes the most sense. And if you want to keep extending the tools agent has, you can hook up your own MCP server. I won't really go into the details for MCP, but if you're curious and want to learn more about it, we have a full documentation for you on MS Learn. And seems like agent again finish with a successful build. Let's hit the debugger. Great. So this is a nice but simple game, and press any key, we can start the game. Perfect. Within just a couple minutes, you see I was iterating multiple rounds with agent, and I'm making my app into a real world like game state. So just within these times, even though I'm not an expert in C++, I was able to move pretty fast. So whenever I'm coding, I love to use agent just as my teammate to ask it any questions about a new or complex code base, to fix any errors or develop new features. Bouncing ideas back and forth with agent really helped me speed up my developing process, and I'm always learning so much from agent as well. So if you haven't given it a try yet, please try out agent mode in GitHub Copilot in Visual Studio. It's now generally available in Visual Studio 17.14, and see how agent mode can improve your own development experiences. Please share any feedback about agent mode with us on Visual Studio developer community. We would really love to hear from you. Happy coding!